The 1990 Jefferson nickel may look like just an ordinary 5-cent coin, something you've probably spent hundreds of times without giving it a second thought. But here's where things get exciting. What if I told you that this very coin, the one minted in 1990, could actually be worth thousands of dollars, even as much as $10,000 or more at auction? Yes, we're talking about a simple nickel in your pocket turning into big money, potentially life-changing cash if you know exactly what to look for. So don't be fooled by its common appearance, because the Jefferson Nickel series hides incredible secrets. And today, we're going deep into the world of the 1990 Jefferson Nickel. By the end of this video, you'll know why collectors are hunting these coins, which rare errors can turn them into gold mines, and what you should check in your change right now. This is not just about pocket change, it's about treasure hiding in plain sight. First, let's talk about the basics. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American currency since 1938, replacing the beloved Buffalo nickel. It features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse, designed by Felix Schlag. On the reverse, we see Jefferson's famous Monticello home in Virginia. Now, by 1990, the design had already been in use for over 50 years, but here's the twist. Coins from this era aren't always as ordinary as they seem. The Philadelphia and Denver mints struck millions of these coins in 1990. The Philadelphia mint produced over 661 million nickels, while the Denver mint struck more than 1.4 billion. With numbers this high, you might be thinking, how could such a common coin be valuable? Well, here's the shocker. Within those billions of coins, there are rare varieties and errors that collectors will pay hundreds, thousands, and sometimes even tens of thousands of dollars for. That's right, your nickel could be worth more than $1,000, maybe even more than $15,000, if it has the right traits. Let's start with condition. If you happen to find a 1990 Jefferson nickel in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially graded by services like PCGS or NGC, you could be holding on to a small fortune. For example, a 1990 D Jefferson nickel graded MS67 with full steps has sold for over $4,500 at auction. Another top-graded example, the 1990 P in MS67 with full steps, can bring $3,000 to $5,000. Why? Because out of the billions minted, very few survive in flawless, gem condition. Most have scratches, wear, or bag marks. But if you come across one with razor-sharp details, no blemishes, and strong luster, collectors will pay big money for it. But here's where it gets even crazier: error coins. Yes, errors are the real jackpot when it comes to the 1990 Jefferson nickel. Imagine finding a coin with a double die, an off-center strike, a clipped planchet, or a misaligned die. These mistakes slipped through the mint's quality control and made their way into circulation, and now collectors are willing to pay shocking amounts to own them. For example, a dramatic off-center strike from 1990 has sold for over $800, depending on how visible and extreme the error is. A double die, especially on the lettering, date, or Monticello, can easily sell for $1,500 or more. And then there are full-step nickels. If you're a coin collector, you already know about the famous full steps designation. On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, Monticello steps are often weakly struck, making full, sharp steps extremely rare. If you find a 1990 Jefferson nickel with full steps visible, you're looking at serious money. Collectors hunt these like treasure because they prove that the strike was strong and well-preserved. In MS67 with full steps, prices can skyrocket into the $5,000 to $10,000 range. Think about that, a 5-cent coin worth thousands, just because of sharp steps on Monticello. Now let's talk about proof coins. The San Francisco Mint produced special proof versions of the 1990 Jefferson nickel for collectors, with mirror-like fields and frosted designs. These proofs were never intended for circulation, but sometimes they slip out. A 1990 S-proof nickel graded PR70 Deep Cameo has sold for over $1,200. And if you happen to stumble across one in your change, consider yourself extremely lucky, because that's like hitting the coin jackpot. So, how do you know if your 1990 nickel is valuable? Here's the checklist. First, check the mint mark. Coins with P for Philadelphia and D for Denver are common, but S-proof strikes can be worth more. Second, examine the condition. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Third, look closely for errors. Off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, and planchet flaws are the golden tickets. And finally, check Monticello's steps. If you can count all of them clearly without breaks, you may have a full steps variety, which could mean thousands of dollars. Now, here's where it gets exciting. Imagine digging through an old jar of coins, maybe something left behind by your parents or grandparents, and suddenly spotting a flawless 1990 Jefferson nickel with full steps. You take it to get graded, and weeks later, you find out it's worth $6,000 or even $8,000 at auction. Stories like this aren't just fantasy, they happen. Ordinary people have cashed in big, all because they paid attention to the details of their change. Think about it. You've probably handled thousands of nickels in your lifetime, and chances are, you never even looked closely at them. But what if one of those nickels was worth more than your monthly paycheck? What if one single 5-cent coin could change the way you look at pocket change forever? That's why collectors and treasure hunters are obsessed with coins like the 1990 Jefferson nickel. Because hidden in plain sight, among billions of ordinary nickels, are the rare gems that can turn into serious money. The next time you get change from the store, don't overlook that nickel. Flip it over, check Monticello's steps, study the details, and look for those minting errors. Because you never know, you could be holding on to a rare variety that collectors are desperate to own. And if you're lucky enough to have one graded at the top levels, you might just have a 5-cent coin worth $10,000, maybe even more. So, don't underestimate the power of the 1990 Jefferson nickel. It's more than just pocket change, it's history, it's art, and it could be your hidden fortune. Keep hunting, keep checking, and who knows? The next millionaire-making coin could be sitting right there in your pocket.